Hello, hello. I'm Lauren from Truer Words by Lauren, if you don't know already. And I wanted to show you the sales page of one of my students from the last Truer Copy Mastermind. She just published it today, and I was, I shouldn't say this. The first thing I do in the morning is I check my phone, I check my messages, I check my emails, and I saw this come through as I was in the bathroom, right? Like you do. And I signed up for it before I even brushed my teeth. So talk about an occupational hazard, but also talk about an amazing sales page. And she wrote this in my program. So I wanted to share this with you. I'm going to share my screen and I'm just going to share what about this struck me as just so good. You know, it's just a strong sales page. And yes, it was done with my template. It was done with, you know, a bit of my help. Kimberly is an amazing writer. I'm not going to take all the credit for sure, because this is just her brilliance all over the place. And that's what the mastermind is really designed to do. It's to draw out your brilliance and put it on your website. And you're doing it. I get to help a bit. So she's offering this program that personally, as soon as she told me about it, I knew I wanted in because I love fairy tales so much. If you see my bookshelf over there, it is a ton of folklore. I am big into it. And when she was talking about the way that she uses fairy tales to help us re-enchant our lives, to see the magic in the everyday, oh my gosh, I need that. Don't you? So she's running it, she's doing it. So I wanted to take you through this sales page just for fun, just so you can get a taste of what you can do with, you know, just the right amount of guidance, a little bit of template, and a little bit of, well, a lot of accountability. This is what can happen. So right here, wisdom of fairy tales. As soon as I see fairy tales, I'm in. She's got this beautiful image. The design is fantastic, but I love this value proposition here. This is the tagline. This is what I teach as the big burly tagline that is the structural support for a header that maybe isn't as specific, maybe isn't as clear, but is very pretty. So wisdom of fairy tales, that's beautiful. I have not that much of an idea of what that does for me, but when I see become enchanted with life again, suddenly I'm putting the two together, I'm figuring it out. Why do I want this other than a chance to read fairy tales? Yes, haven't done that since college. I mean, you know, not in a class. And I love how she puts the need to know details right up top. This is super cool and nobody does it. Nobody does it. Usually you put all of these need to know details way down at the bottom. You force everybody to just keep scrolling. On my sales page for my program, I put the details right up at the top too. And I had one of my friend clients say, you know, I scrolled all the way to the bottom before I figured out you put them at the top. It catches people off guard. They pay attention, they wake up. Clearly, this is not going to be your typical sales page. It's not going to be your typical program. Kim Marie is not your typical coach. So it sets up that expectation that this is going to be different, kind of exciting. So, I mean, here are the parameters. Here are really the things that you need to know to make a decision. Is this going to fit into my schedule? And I have to say, when I was brushing my teeth this morning, I was like, okay, this, I know I want in. Do I have the time? You know, I've got a really busy autumn lined up. I'm teaching the mastermind. I'm teaching my class. Got my client work. Is this going to be on the one day a week that actually works in my calendar right now? And thank goodness it was. And as soon as I figured that out, which I did in the header, I was in. Like, I didn't even need to read the rest. I did for fun. So I love the CTA. Oh yes, re-enchant me. That's so creative. It's not a buy now. It's like, I want in on this. Yes. So that's some fun things that you don't find in other copywriting programs and other copywriter advice. This is really just making the most of her special her special brand and my approach. And it's just, I love how it came together. Um, so here is the empathy section. And this is the part of the page where you're really forging a connection of, I see you, I get where you are. Like I've been there, I understand it. And she does this beautifully. You wouldn't be here exploring this journey unless your soul was seeking a bit of reenchantment with life. She's speaking to people who have a sense and a wish for that everyday magic. It's the kind of thing where if you have moors to wander across, you're going to be wandering them. And if you don't, you wish you did. that's kind of me. I'm in San Diego. We have a different kind of romance here than the Celtic tradition that I envy, quite frankly. So she's talking about how fairy tales and mythology and folklore, she's getting into her point of view about why these are important. And this is such an important part of a sales page, is your point of view. Why is this way of solving this issue? And in her case, it's that feeling kind of disenchanted, feeling stuck in the mundane, if you want a Harry Potter reference, you feel like a muggle. And she's like, okay, there's actually a way to bring some of that magic back in. And the way is through fairy tales, through mythology, through folklore, through the power of story. So this is her point of view, and she's setting up the problem, the larger problem, that our sense of enchantment, our capacity to see it, and the capacity we have to allow ourselves to enjoy it, that's kind of been lost in the shuffle of modern life. And she's building this argument really nicely. Our disenchantment is not our fault. Here are the contributing factors. Social media, which I say as I plan to post this on Instagram. But this is beautiful. We need a new lens through which to see the world that helps us to align with our soul's true path and reanimate a sense of purpose. Like, this is deeper than just, thinking about what fairies are living in the tree in your backyard. No, this is actually a lot deeper work than that, even though that's still important work. That just gives you joy of life, which is no small thing. But this is also getting you in touch with a deeper magic that's, in your soul, in your purpose, why you're here. So she gives her story, and these are sections. These are actually sections of the template brought to glorious life. And this section is the, sort of introducing. It's the I. Here's my story. Here's how I came to this idea. Believe it or not, what reconnected me to my true path was fairy tales and folklore. And she tells a bit of her story. And this is wonderful. I realized that I could be the leading character in the story of my life. Sometimes we are the fairy tale. This is it. And we get to be that protagonist for ourselves. So she's developing this idea from disenchantment to purpose, to what if you are the protagonist of your own fairy tale? How does that change the game for you? That's an interesting proposition. I'm really looking forward to being in this program and seeing how that shakes out, how that develops. And then she goes into, this is kind of an FAQ section, because fairy tales for a lot of people can be a loaded term. And whatever you're offering, there's going to be some hesitations. There's going to be some, oh, what about this? I'm not sure about that. And this is a good place on your sales page to just address those things. So there's the idea that fairy tales are chauvinistic or misogynistic. And yes, fairy tale tellings can be problematic, but there's more to that story. So she just explains, and what got me hooked on fairy tales were the illustrations. And this speaks to me so much because these were the illustrations that I grew up with in my books that I loved so much. And now I actually, I have a collection of Victorian children's books that I collect for these gorgeous illustrations and for the fairy tales. So sure, maybe it's just speaking to me, but I don't think so. If you're thinking that this is an amazing program, you're totally right. And you should join me in taking it. I'm just going to give Kimberly a bit of a plug because I think this is fantastic. So this journey will be empowering for you if this is such a great section. This is the "this is for you if" section that checks for fit. So if you see yourself in these points, then this program is really created for you to help you get to where you want to go. So maybe you're in a transition, maybe you're trying to reconnect with your passion, maybe you just love stories, maybe you are curious to learn how fairy tales can bring understanding to your experience as a human in the world. And then this one, you can tell I had a little finger in this because I wrote this part for me. I did, and she kept it in. I know I am not the only English major out there who loves these stories, who loves analyzing them, finding new layers, finding new depths. So yes, I totally added that bullet point. It was all about me. But I think it's going to be about all of her ideal clients because I'm not the only one who just loves nerding out over this stuff. Okay, so there's the invitation, there's the details once again. Here's the enroll now button. And this is sort of an outline of what it's the nuts and bolts. This is what I call these sections. This is how it actually works. And that's important to have for people who are newer to your work, who maybe have not worked with you before, who don't know you. They're going to want these extra layers of here's how this works, here's what to expect, calms their fears. And this is genius. This speaks to that end result, that desired outcome that people are really wanting to get out of this. So she outlines, here's what you're going to get out of this. And notice that these are not tangible outcomes. You're not going to be 20% more magical in your life. No, of course not. We can't promise these things, especially as coaches. That's not possible. But she's speaking to the emotional outcomes and the real heartfelt benefits of how you're going to get so much out of this, Re-enliven your playful side? Yes. I've been working so hard. I need a bit of play. So she's got her testimonials. These are her social proof. Another FAQ section just for more details. It's more layers of just making people feel confident that they know what to expect, calming any fears, calming any doubts by just being super transparent. Like, here's what we're doing. Here are the fairy tales we'll be working with. And that's the page. And then there's an extra. So she already introduced her part of the story. She didn't actually introduce herself. This is where she does that. And sometimes this section is way up top. Sometimes this section is in the middle. There's always going to be a section where you introduce yourself on your sales page. And the cool thing about sales pages or any page on your website is they all have the same parts, but you can move those parts around to create better flow, to mess with people's expectations and wake them up. My dog says it's dinner time. I'd better end this now, but we've reached the end of the sales page. So long story short, this is what you can do. This is the kind of sales page you can write, something that feels good, that explains the value of your offer and makes people like me buy before they brush their teeth. All right. Thanks for hanging in there with me. And I hope to see you hopefully in my mastermind, because that's closing enrollment Friday, October 1st. But if not there, catch me in my craft and copy hours on Wednesdays, 4:00 Pacific. They're free, they're super fun. And of course, like me, they're a bit quirky. Bye.